I'm glad this has come to us because I was one of the trustees who was really pushing for it to come. And I need to be really frank here that I thought that this would be much easier. And as I started to read all the public comments that was coming in, and I contacted teachers and admins and former admins and district staff, and even spoke to some of our officers themselves and participated with Officer Bobbitt during one of the city's engagements. It became clear that our SROs have absolutely done some great work for us. And I want to echo Trustee Crosby's thanks for that work. But it also is clear that there are some problems. And I think we have an opportunity here to reimagine what this relationship is going to look like. Because I think, as Trustee Crosby also pointed out, there are going to be times, whether we formally disband the SRO program, where we are going to have engagement with law enforcement. And we want that to be productive and collaborative. So no matter what happens with this program, whether we keep it, eliminate it altogether, or scale it back, I want us to have a productive relationship with our police. This has kept me up most nights for the last couple of weeks. Because, as I said, I thought this would be easy. But I'm very concerned with seeing the data that clearly disproportionately shows that particularly our Hispanic and Latinx students are disproportionately on the receiving end of arrests and encounters with our SROs. And I'm wondering, is there any explanation for that? Because it's alarming.
Yeah, I can talk and speak to the data that was provided in the report. And I think you're referencing the large number of Hispanic students that were arrested. If you look, and I'll refer back to Trustee Sweeney's comments about if you look at the total number of arrests based on the number of students, and let's just think of high school students alone. One incident that occurred at one of our local high schools involved a fight that involved students of a certain race. And as a result of that, understanding, like other trustees have mentioned, we have to keep our students safe. We have to keep our staff safe. If you look at the numbers, and I think the data was provided at one high school, that one incident involved several students. So if you were to evaluate that incident and take the number down from 8 to 2, then your percentages would drop drastically. The other thing that I would like to mention is when we talk about arrests, most people would think it's when we're putting a student in handcuffs and transporting them to jail. The data, when it talks about arrests or referrals, if you look at the data between the 2 years, the number of students that were actually transported to juvenile hall was 1. So when you think about referrals, when you think about arrests, what we're trying to do is, our goal is not to place handcuffs on our students. And I speak, as a, product of Fremont Unified School District, growing up in the community as an African American. We don't focus on arresting children of color. It's important that you understand that our goal is to provide resources, referrals through resources, through diversion, the programs that we've talked about. It's really to help the kids. and what Trustee Sweeney had mentioned earlier about, other things and what you had mentioned, the resource part. One of the callers talked about, they were somewhat offended that there was a reference to a sexual assault. Well, we do have data. We do have true stories of how we have been resources for our students. And understand, our goal will always be to protect the community. If you call the police, we will come. Will we be delayed if we're not in schools? Of course, it's nice to have an officer on site. But, for perspective, in the R for resource is a case at one of our local high schools where a young student was suicidal. And a friend of that student was very concerned. And that friend had built a tremendous relationship with her SRO and felt comfortable and confident to approach that SRO and share with him that her friend was suicidal. And that SRO, understand they do receive crisis intervention training, was able to talk to the student in crisis and get her help. And as a result of that's just one incident, that child is alive today.